that I believe that we are in a massive harvest where there's going to be some amazing transformations. And I think what you're going to see is the church, there's going to be a polarizing of the church. There's going to be this black thing. Matter of fact, as I'm saying this, I had a white shirt, I was going to wear black, she has black and white, and I'm remembering when Josh spoke probably 3 years ago, he was talking about a time coming when there was going to be black and there was going to be white. And I think it's happening, that it's on us, that there's going to be there's a dividing line. Even in politics, if you see, if you visualize it that way, that the politics of the land, there's a black and there's a white, and we're being forced, I believe, forced to choose, how we want to see it and how we want to see those that are engaging and how they're engaging, and love them. Remember, we only have one commandment, and that's to love others the way Christ loved us. And so when we're engaging with these things, that's really the whole purpose of it. So, I want to talk about the weather too. So we are continuously engaging with the weather. Rather it's just in our heart or it's in the heart of the Lord, I assume both. We engage with the weather. So many times, well, this one time we were on a mountain over the I would describe Marysville. It was a fairly tall mountain, high enough mountain where you could see up the Strait of Juan de Fuca, and you could see down into Oregon and even into Northern California. And we were seeing these the blobs. You guys have heard about the blob, the weather blobs that are out there. That's what the weather people describe them as. There's these
in the ocean.
Yeah, in the ocean. Sorry.
Yeah, we were in the ocean.
Yeah. Well, the blobs are these places that are, if the blobs, they're warm bodies of water, they're calling blobs, that if they move this way, the Northwest will encounter a tremendous, wet El Nino winter. If they move that way, it will be a very dry, and so it's kind of where the blob's going to go. So we're on this mountain, and all of a sudden I have a lasso in my hand, and I take this lasso, and I threw this lasso out. We lassoed one of those blobs, and we began to pull it towards us. And all of a sudden, we started to see the jet streams moving. And I'm going to combine a couple different experiences here. We have seen how the atmosphere is tied directly to the water, tied to the core of the earth. And so the temperature of the core of the earth and how it has fractured and how the heat is released is a part of what's happening with the weather. And so there's these blobs these warm bodies of water that are being created from the core of the earth releasing its temperature. And so we went, well, we don't have to put up with that. I mean, we could tell that thing where to go. And so we began to prophesy. And that's another thing, is we know that we're there for a reason, so we're always looking for the authority and to release that and make a change while we're there. We don't just see it and walk away. We see it and we command it and getting something into place. So, want to talk about going into the water?
Well, we had that. I think it was that same night. We actually saw this substance that we encounter a lot of different substances, and then God will tell us what it is. But this one was really, really, really big, and it was kind of like a veil. And so we were like, what is it? What is it? And the Lord said, it's my glory. And so we went, well, we want your glory to cover the earth. And he said, well, how about it? So we grabbed this veil and we began, and as we were doing it, all of a sudden these angels came to assist us, and we literally were flying around the earth, and this veil was just unrolling, and it was just covering the earth, and we were just, and it happened so fast, because we're thinking, man, it's going to take years to fly around the earth and cover it, with the glory of God. But in the spirit realm, things happen very, very quickly. And so I think as we're releasing these things, sometimes you do stand back and you go, is this really happening? Are we really doing something? And And as we've engaged, and I think the more benches of 3 that rise up, the more we will see the outcome and how it's affecting the world. So that was a pretty awesome experience.
Yeah. When Mike was with Lou and I, the other thing that he said, oh my gosh, I'm seeing these little mountains appear. He had never seen these mountains. Well, we'd already seen the mountains appear. We were like, well, we prophesied. You're seeing our fruit. Mike's my best friend. But anyway, we've seen these mountains grow, and they're growing more and more every week. That there is an authority rising up. The people are beginning to get this thing, like, we don't have to take this any longer. We don't have to put up with what's happening to us. We actually can release and make the changes. And so I just suggest to you that there's, like I said in the very beginning, each one of you has your own very unique way of seeing, your own very unique way of looking at things, your own very unique way of everything. There's no one like you. And if you first of all set your heart's desire to be in a bench, set it and give your desire over to the Lord, I believe that He will put you with that person or persons that you're meant to be with, that you just naturally flow with, and it'll be natural. And I think once these mountains begin to rise, as Lance Wallnow, he has this whole teaching on the 7 mountains, and you can Google that, and he talks about the different mountains and the mountains and the mountains. I'm starting to really understand more. It's still a little, cloudy sometimes, how I see, but I'm telling you that the mountain, the regional authority, the mountains that are rising up, we're going to experience the church in a whole new way.
Yes.
And see, I don't believe we need to gather. After what I'm experiencing, we don't need to do this. We don't need to rent a place, even. I think the future of church is that we gather together at a specific time, and we just meet on the mountain, and we just ask the Lord to use us as a group. But we are life-giving spirits. The Spirit of the Lord is in us. We have no need. We can take our earth suit with us, or we can leave it behind. But the future of the church is us gathering together to service His purpose and His will, and to release His mandates in the earth. He wants us. He wants this earth to be prosperous. He wants the land to be prosperous. He wants the rains to flow and the seas. He wants the glaciers to be there. He wants the earth, and we have the capacity. The reason things are failing is because we are not in our place. That's the way I see it. That we're still in a place of grace. We're in the transition of grace, where God is saying, no, it's your turn, guys. You need to do this thing. And so I just implore you to put aside your own fears, your own, whatever it is, and just risk it. Just take a risk. Find someone who's risky. You don't have to be the risk taker. Be around someone who is a risk taker.
You don't have to fix your life first.
There you go.
Yeah, it's what you're able to do with someone else. You're going to be amazed when God puts you together in the Spirit. That you don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to know all the Scripture. You don't have to be all faithful and all knowing and all wonderful, because He's wonderful. He's amazing.
Yes.
And again, the only reason we're doing this is because we love Him so much. But this is His mandate. This is what's happening. This is what the church is going to look like. So, what do you think?
I think you're awesome.
Are you guys done?
Well, we could.
The one thing I wanted, the Lord gave me one thing to read, and it just so goes with what you guys have said. And this is out of Graham. This is out of Graham Cook's Game Changers. It says, when those people around you know your true identity, then they have to act accordingly toward you. That is what we call fellowship. Fellowship is not just how we meet together around the Lord's table or in worship or prayer. Real fellowship is when you know the person standing next to you, you know who they are, you know their identity, and you live with them accordingly to who they are, and because they are living with you accordingly to how they see you in Jesus. And that is the unity we are looking for. That is the oneness of heart and mind and soul and voice. You see the people around you as God sees them, and you relate to them as He would. This is what forms the bench of three. You start to recognize each other in the Spirit, and you connect in the Spirit, and you form something that is tighter and has more fellowship than you ever dreamed.
Yeah.
You know, God gave me 2 benches of 3. Before Lou spoke to us, I was already centered in 2 benches of 3. The second one I had to form. We already formed a relationship. We already knew, but these guys have formed a relationship. But that's what God is wanting with the body. Haven't you ever wondered, how are we supposed to form as the bride of Christ? How are we ever to knit our gifts together? How are we ever to come before the kingdom as a unit? Well, this is what God's doing. He's causing us to be so knit together that we can come. As they're sharing their stories, I'm cracking up because my bench of 3, now He takes us to the land. We go places. He sends us places. But the story about the Indian name, same thing, but we saw the whole thing on the river. We were at the Columbia River, and we started seeing the history of the river, and all 3 of us were like, we saw them. All the Indians, all the natives, we saw them fishing, we saw them working, we could see from Canada down. And I'm like him.
Yeah.
I don't know history. I had no idea that all 3 of us had native backgrounds. One Canadian Indian, me Cherokee, the other one another. And so the Lord is saying, I want you to pray through from your native background. I'm thinking, all of this is just listening to the Spirit. None of us are like brainiacs and know what's going on. We're just listening to God and going, woo! And knowing.
It's true.
I got to tell you, when Michael testified of what happened to him, and he's with the staff, and he's tapping it that's exactly what I do. I take a staff, I go out, and the Lord has me tapping on the ground. He's doing it in a mountain in heaven, I'm doing it on earth. When Michael shared that last week, I was like, this is everything the Spirit leads me to do as He sends us out to different places. We don't always go different places, sometimes we meet. But it's out of that relationship, and I feel like it's the, the Lord's been speaking to me about blueprints and mandates, and I believe these are the blueprints God has been putting together because He wants us to function into a greater capacity. He's trying to form us into the body of Christ like never before. And so what they're saying is so similar. We haven't shared our stories. We have 6 benches of 3. And we do different things, and we see different things, and we minister in different ways. But it's because, like he said, they're unique. We're each unique. But He's still building us up to trust each other. I trust my benches with my life. Absolutely with my life. He's put us together so strongly, and we have coordinated into a functioning unit. And with us, it lasts all week. I meet a couple hours. Ours lasts a couple hours. But the Spirit is taking us into places we never dreamed. We're praying for things like. It reminds me kind of like Avatar. You're in a whole different world. Yeah. You're doing a whole different thing. You never dreamed. We don't set an agenda either. We just go as the Spirit leads us. So anyway, I'm just in so agreement with you guys.
Awesome.
Awesome.